Some of you here who don't know who I am Mark Sackett, and I'm the liaison from the Cathedral to Cincinnati Scholar House. And today what we're going to tell you a little bit about is what, how, where, and when of Scholar House and the involvement from the Cathedral. And to begin with, I go back to the late winter of 2013. We had a new dean here at the Cathedral, and there were a small group of outreach advocates at the Cathedral, keeping in mind that we were rapidly approaching our bicentennial. We were exploring opportunities for outreach to the community that would make a significant impact on the community. We very quickly, in December of 2013, identified 3 areas that we wanted to focus on: housing, low-income housing, families, and education. In January of 2014, Steve Smith from the Model Group, a developer of low-income housing and market-rate housing and commercial property in the region here, he introduced us to the idea of Scholar House. And a few months later, after we viewed a couple of Scholar House projects in Kentucky, we were invited to join the Model Group in Cincinnati Union Bethel in developing Cincinnati's first Scholar House. So excuse me, we don't have a remote clicker. So, there we go. No, we don't have a clicker. But anyhow, so we formed this partnership, and in 2015 we actually had we signed a formal memorandum of understanding that codified our intended partnership, or our intended intention to work with these 2 partners in this partnership to bring Cincinnati Scholar House to. In July of 2017, Scholar House was awarded the tax credit funding that will allow us to build Scholar House in Walnut Hills, on McMillan Street in Walnut Hills. The groundbreaking and demolition of the existing buildings are scheduled for the summer of 2018. So the actual groundbreaking is scheduled for early June. I think June 4th, actually. And occupancy and the grand opening is scheduled for the late fall of 2019. That's all well and good. But what the heck is Scholar House anyhow? And that's what we're going to tell you a little about. I'm going to ask Beth Schwartz from Cincinnati Union Bethel to explain the programming side of Cincinnati Scholar House.
Hi, good afternoon. My tenure at Cincinnati Union Bethel began right at the launch of the project. So I think it might have even been my first day on the job, which was November 1st of 17. I walked into a Scholar House meeting. I think it wasn't the first day, it was right in that first week. And Scholar House is a perfect, just as Mark was saying, the intersection of what the Cathedral was interested in becoming involved in, those 3 areas: housing, education, and families. It is completely aligned with Scholar House. So are the core competencies and the historical offerings of Cincinnati Union Bethel. So we have in our organization 2 of our service lines. One is affordable housing and one is preschool education. So we were well aligned to participate in the project. So Scholar House is a 44-unit building. You can that provides stable, affordable housing for single parents, as well as care for their children, all in one place, and supportive services to make sure that those single parents are receiving the support and guidance and that they need to complete a post-high school degree. And hopefully the goal is they graduate and they move out and move on. So it's very holistic, wraparound services. So really any kinds of supports that the single parents would need in order to complete their education, to take care of their children, etc. And then preschool, which will be infant care up to kindergarten, as well as after school care if they have elementary school age children, all in the same building. And there's very much a desire to create a community in the building. So it's a community approach. We want this to be their home. And we want to bring in a lot of supports from the community as well. And so there's community rooms for classes, tutoring, computer space, computer access, etc., and lots of family support services. So it's very wraparound and holistic in its orientation. And I think yep, that's it. Where is it? So Tim, my colleague Tim will share with you, my partner in crime here.
Good afternoon. As Mark was saying, I work for the Model Group. We're a real estate developer, but we strive in every project that we do to have our real estate projects be mission-based. So a lot of the times we'll work in a particular neighborhood and try to revitalize Walnut Hills, for example, is a neighborhood that's been down on its luck for a long time. And we come in and try to fix up the buildings and bring in tenants and residents who have been there for a long time and will help the community excel. And a lot of times we work with, we do a lot of projects that involve senior housing, housing for people with disabilities. So this is something that fits right in with our mission. And as Mark was saying, we've been working with both the CUB and with the Cathedral for a long time on this project. So the project, Society Scholar House, is located, this is in Walnut Hills. There's East McMillan Street kind of running along the top of the slide. You might know this building kind of at the top here is a Kroger building that actually, just kind of a landmark to orient yourself. That building, the Kroger unfortunately just shut down about a year ago. But this whole district of Walnut Hills, we're working very closely with the Walnut Hills Redevelopment Foundation to breathe new life back into this strip. It's a strip with a lot of retail and a lot of other uses. We just finished kind of the first phase of it is over here is a project called Treverin Flats that has market rate apartments. It has a kind of a trendy new bar. It has a barbecue shop and a coffee shop. And the Scholar House itself is going to have retail on the first floor that will help to kind of create a district. We're thinking this is going to be the when Vine Street just first came up in over the Rhine back 6 and 8 years ago. You know, kind of the block from 11th Street to 13th Street was the first thing to finish. And we're envisioning that this block of East McMillan is going to be that version here in Walnut Hills and really breathe new life into this community. And it's something we're putting a lot of our strength behind. We worked on that Treverin Flats project I mentioned, and then also a project called Paramount Square, which is going to rehab that very beautiful Art Deco Paramount building right at the northeast corner of McMillan and Gilbert there. So our vision is in 5 years to come to this neighborhood. It'll be completely transformed. It'll be developing in a way that includes everybody. And Scholar House, which involves housing and educating low-income families, is a critical part and part that the community wants and that the community is behind, which I think is just terrific.
Before you leave there, could you point out on the map, where is the little park area? Which one of those lots is the?
There's like an existing alley, kind of like going up that way.
So the project will take over that little park open space?
It does, and then it's going to replace it, kind of that little notch on the way left. It'll kind of replace the park and kind of egress, or like a pedestrian walk easement going down the Curve Street, which is the community want us to keep that pedestrian walkway. So developing Scholar House is very similar to developing any type of building. We were awarded financing in July of 2013, or July of 2017, as Mark was saying, an award of low-income housing tax credits from the Ohio Housing Finance Agency. It's a very competitive process, so we feel very lucky. We put together this application and we competed against a lot of other developers with other ideas throughout the state of Ohio. And we're lucky to get awarded, and we're awarded in big part on the strength of our program and our team. Scholar House being a particularly exceptional program that OFA awards. So we went about hiring an architect. Model Group has an in-house general contractor which has been working on this project. We have a bank giving us a permanent loan to support the project. And we've kind of gone about developing the building, as you typically would. And we've talked to the city to get it zoned properly. We've submitted for building permit and hope to get that here in another couple of weeks. And we're hoping to close on with our low-income housing tax credit investor here in another couple of weeks. And then we can start construction as soon as that's done. As Mark was saying, we're shooting for a groundbreaking June 4th. That's kind of all dependent on us closing on our financing with our team. So we're hopeful to do that.
Will you say a little bit about tax credit funding? What is it and how does that actually work?
We'll take some questions after the presentation. Probably be the easiest thing to do, if you don't mind.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, so hang on to this. I should have mentioned that.
So this is, the development process we started, kind of when we got our LIDIC award back in, low-income housing tax credit award back in last summer. That's when we really started in earnest, meeting with Beth and her team and with Mark and others from the cathedral here. We meet bi-weekly, and one of the big things that we did is design the exterior of the building and with input from the city and from the community. And then we designed all the residential units. Made sure, these are going to be very busy families, so we made sure that the units were designed with, laundry is going to be in the units and has an open floor plan. So we're envisioning there's going to be mothers working with kids on their homework and having kids with toys scattered about, designing the units particularly for them, and then also designing the preschool on the first floor using CUB's extensive knowledge, running preschools and designing them to be to the specifications that we'll have to design for. Because these preschools got to get permitted and licensed and everything. And of course, going back and forth with the city who's reviewing our plans and our permits and all that stuff. So I think this is where I turn it over to Mark.
If you didn't notice, we didn't rehearse this. So please, we appreciate your patience with us on it. One of the things I want to emphasize is not only is Scholar House an opportunity to make an impact on the community,